Honourable member for Nanaimo-Ladysmith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First and foremost, I want to start by sincerely thanking the Nanaimo detachment of the RCMP for the work they do every day in our community to keep us safe. There are 151 sworn members of the RCMP who form the ranks in Nanaimo. They join over 18,000 members from across the country. And this is important to remember when we're talking about this bill. This doesn't just affect 151 people in my riding. It doesn't just affect 18,000 officers from across the country. It affects families, spouses, and grandparents, and children, and their classmates, and our entire community. I'm going to take a moment to say how proud I am of the work that the RCMP members do in Nanaimo. They have a fantastic bike patrol unit. They're really eyes and ears on the ground in our community. They work municipal traffic. They have a criminal intelligence unit, a canine dog unit. They work hard on victim services. And when we do homelessness counts in our community, they know every citizen who is living rough. They know where they are. They keep track of them. They're very good people, and they're part of the fabric of our community. They host open houses to show the public what's happening behind the scenes. They fundraise for victim services. They proudly attend community events in our riding, like the Marine Festival Parade, and they ensure that roads remain safe during Ladysmith's Christmas Light Up Festival. So, with that backdrop in our community, collective bargaining is about respect. And to foster respect for workers and their rights, and to create a safe working environment, to reward workers for their dedication and growth. And that allows employees to have a voice and enables employers to listen. And the cornerstone of collective bargaining is respect. It's that simple. It is respect. Collective bargaining is a right that is enjoyed by a vast majority of federal workers, and those rights generally allow workers to be part of the conversation about staffing levels, deployment and relocation, and sexual harassment, except the RCMP. Now, Janelle Canning-Lou and her husband recently wrote to me about Bill C-7. They're both serving members of the RCMP, and they've collectively served in 12 posts in 4 divisions. And they say that they view C-7 as a slap in the face. They say, instead of empowering us, it legislates the takeaway of fundamental rights of negotiation in the area of officer safety and working conditions. And she isn't wrong to feel that way. The negotiation of officer safety is a right that every other police association in the country is granted. There's so much for respect. Now, the RCMP members and the NDP support and recognize that meaningful collective bargaining should extend well beyond the issue of pay and benefits alone. There must be a mechanism in this bill to support improved workplace safety and finding a resolution to the unresolved issue of sexual harassment complaints by members of the RCMP. The extent of sexual harassment problems in the force has been extensively documented, and it's been widely covered in the media. And just yesterday, a senior member of RCMP management was charged with sexual harassment. And this followed a class action lawsuit of 400 RCMP members on sexual harassment in the force. How especially troubling, how appalling it is that this was explicitly excluded from this bill. It's a great failure. Rural officers in particular have concerns around the unresolved issues around workplace safety. I think of Mayerthorpe and Moncton, both terrible tragedies where there was terrible loss of life of RCMP members, and there are remaining issues as to the extent to which they were protected. These men and women stand up for us, and we should stand up for them. Another failure of this bill is around uniforms. The prevention of bargaining with management about the selection, function, maintenance, and replacement of uniform pieces does not make sense. RCMP members are using this equipment daily, and this bill will restrict them from using their frontline knowledge about the safest and most efficient pieces of equipment. That kind of inside knowledge could be invaluable and could have saved time, money, and most importantly, lives. Secondly, employee transfers should not be removed from the bargaining process. Transfers should be a part of the conversation that takes into account workers' input to ensure that they are being fairly administered. A transfer can be a life-changing event for officers, their families, and our communities. In Canada, we've got many remote areas with very high costs of living. We've got very isolated communities as well. And some of these communities have a real lack of access to basic necessities like affordable, safe childcare. So members need to be involved in those decisions. They need to have those be matters for collective bargaining. Now, Corporal Clover Johns in Nanaimo wrote to me saying that the removal of the restrictions on transfers and equipment would not hamper RCMP operations, but in fact would likely improve them, allowing more harmonious, problem-solving, stronger employer-employee relations, and higher member morale. Working together to solve problems creates stronger employer-employee relations and higher member morale. That is respect, and that is what collective bargaining should look like. The motto of the RCMP is Maintien le droit, or maintain the rights. Bill C-7 provides less rights for members of the RCMP than other police. Unfortunately, the government has failed to adopt the amendments that the NDP put forward at committee. These were reasonable amendments, such as allowing workplace safety and sexual harassment concerns to become matters for collective bargaining and arbitration between the RCMP and management, RCMP members and management. We should hear those concerns, and we should act upon them. Enabling meaningful collective bargaining will not only benefit the members and their institution, but will benefit all Canadians. Now, the government's bill excludes everything from collective bargaining except pay and benefits, and I expressed great concern about this during the debate before second reading. Yet I voted in favour at that stage with the optimism that these amendments could be made at committee. I hear most witnesses at committee express great concern about what was left out of this collective bargaining agreement. The government failed to expand collective bargaining by agreeing to the amendments that the NDP proposed at committee, and this, in our view, means that the bill fails to live up to the court's direction. And now the government has just voted to shut down debate on this important bill. Just did it. The government could have chosen to make a bad bill better. It could have done that at committee. But closing down debate today is the final process failure. Shutting down debate does not help meet the court deadline. Shutting down debate just reinforces the failure of process on this. The government has already failed to meet the court ruling, really, because it failed to write legislation that gives the RCMP members access to true collective bargaining. So today I will vote in favour of the report amendments proposed by the member for Saanich Gulf Islands. They don't go as far as the amendments that the NDP proposed at committee, but they are our last chance to repair this flawed bill, given the government's refusal to truly extend the right to collective bargaining to RCMP members. If the amendments are not approved today by the government and by this House, I will vote against the bill. Finally, Corporal Johns from Nanaimo reminds me that members of this House have what RCMP members do not. We hold the power to listen and to voice their concerns when they were not afforded an opportunity to. We have the power to enact just laws that enhance the National Police Force, to treat its members fairly and advance public safety in Canada. We should do that today, and we should guarantee members of the police in Canada equitable, open, harmonious labour practices.